Welcome to today's video. This is part 2 of our Outer Banks adventure. If you haven't seen part 1, then I'll leave a little link on the screen and in the description so you can go and check that out. There's no getting away from it. The Outer Banks can get very busy. So with the summer crowds out in force, Mrs. Faceless and I had to be nimble to find quiet locations for our shoots. One such was at Coquina Beach. Having found some peace and solitude away from the madding crowds, Mrs. Faceless decided she would stand right next to me. To be fair, that was the optimal location. The concrete blocks mark what I presume to be a storm drain or similar, and having found such a quiet spot, we did the tripod shuffle so we could both have a go. Shooting this type of long exposure image is not something I do very often, if at all, but the sun was high up in the sky, the crowds were out elsewhere, and we were taking the time to relax, so why not give it a go? Bodie Island Lighthouse, or Light Station to give it its proper designation, is another must-see. Sadly there was no sunrise opportunity with little to no cloud again, but we were still there early enough to get some shots and check out exactly where we'd need to be for later. We'd wandered out along the wooden walkway to a raised platform over the marsh. There's a lot of bugs here, again. It seems to be a common theme in the Outer Banks. We were the only ones here for quite some time. Mrs. Faceless was happy with her shots, under the circumstances, so when people started to appear we headed back to the lighthouse itself, with the intention of going inside and up to the top. Unfortunately, the doors had opened a short while earlier, and with there being limits on the number of people allowed in at a time, there was already quite a queue forming. So we added that to the list of things to do when we got back. I returned to Bodie later that evening, without Mrs. Faceless this time. There were still a few people milling around, so I took the shots that I could, but there was still one I wanted. Again, the sky is boring with no clouds or texture, but I do like the black and white pics anyway. I then sat in the car on my own for a couple of hours as I waited for it to get dark, which was great for the photos I wanted, not so great for taking video. If you wait a second you'll just see, oh there it is, that's the lighthouse. Well, the photos are okay at least. Despite the bug spray, covering up and not being out too long, I still got eaten alive, all for the cause. I'd spent quite a long time looking at maps and scouring the coastline for something different, and I'd come across the Bob Perry boat ramp. This is not something that would normally jump out to a tourist, so I was pretty sure it would be quiet, and it was. There's a jetty pointing straight out into the water, with marsh and trees all around. We figured all we needed was some clouds in the right place. That would give us a very interesting high contrast black and white, especially with a longer exposure to smooth the water. Is that too much to ask for? When we arrived, there was some activity with boats being launched, as well as some kayaks and paddleboards taken to the water. We were in no rush and it was the middle of the day, so we started the time-lapse going and settled down on a bench to enjoy some well-earned sustenance as we watched the clouds start to form. And they were starting to form, as you can see, and we were hoping they'd move to the right so they'd be right at the end of the jetty. And then we watched them dissipate. And then they started to form again. And then they started to dissipate. Rinse and repeat. Anyway, it wasn't working out, so I went looking for some other things and found some nature. And then decided we'd shoot looking down the jetty anyway. I still think the idea was sound, if only we had clouds. So after the lack of success at the boat ramp, I really wanted to get my final body image. So we headed back there in the late afternoon. The crowds had thinned and I got my shot. Thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the small slice of our adventures and the pictures which went along with it. If you did, a like and a subscribe would be most appreciated. Until next time.